So, your method section, you talk about how you collect data, talk about how you analyze data. Next up, findings, results. What happened when you executed those methods? Okay. Again, we're still making sure things are presented logically. You're still telling a story. Think of it as telling a story. What happened next? Your findings / results happened next, right? You could consider using things like charts and graphs, tables to present these things so that they're easy for the reader to understand what your findings were, okay? You want to explain them in addition to including the graphs, charts, and tables. And then here's a key. You want to then position your findings or results within the broader literature that you studied up front and that you mentioned up front in your literature review, right? So how then now does what you have discovered or what you have found out fit into what was previously known? Okay, a lot of times, a lot of criticisms about research, especially academic research, is around this. How do you now fit what you've got into what was already known? Because ultimately, we're just building a bigger picture about a given phenomenon or a given problem. Okay. So you explain your findings, put them within the literature, and then you can discuss any limitations of your research. So where could you have gone farther, but you recognize that you didn't? Okay, so sometimes that's in terms, a lot of times that's in terms of generalizability, because it's hard to study every single person within a population. Okay, so there may be some limits on your ability to generalize to a larger group. There may be limitations in your research design. Maybe you weren't able to spend enough time in that culture or something like that, like we talked about last week, right? So there could be some limitations regarding your research design, and you point those out so that someone else who decides to replicate the study might be able to push past your limitations in whatever way. Limitations also, it's almost like a lens in which to see your findings for what they are, right? It's like, hold on, notice that, recognize that I was limited in these ways. And scope would be another thing to mention in your limitations. So if you are studying, for instance, the gender wage gap, why did you not study this particular aspect of it? Okay, so why your scope was where it was, okay, and recognizing that as a potential limitation, which also may feed into generalizability really too. So.